Aphrodite, 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 the goddess of love.
Hello, and welcome to Notes from the Oracle. I'm Connor, and together with Jack, my co-host from Cabin 6, we're going beyond Half-Blood Hill to take a closer look at the electrifying mythology of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Book 1, The Lightning Thief. Chapter 15, A God Buys Us Cheeseburgers.
This was a really good chapter, Connor. I'm gonna come out and say it. This was a really good chapter.
This was a lot of fun. Totally agree.
There's a lot, though. It's super dense. There's a lot that happens within the however many pages. Like, it goes fast, but this is another one I almost feel like it could have been split into 2 chapters and would have been about as seamless.
There's a lot of distinct things that happen. From the conversation with Luke to actually being in the diner with Ares to actually going to get his shield, you've got 3 distinct settings, scenes going on. This is a packed chapter.
So with that said, I say let's just jump into it. We got a lot to talk about.
Yep. We get a date update at the top of the chapter, which I've been appreciating.
Yes.
It's
Oh my
June
God.
14th. We have 7 days left. Good to know.
The countdown.
Thank you.
Yep.
The countdown. Exactly. It's good. Keeps us honest, keeps us on track.
Yep.
And you know what? They're making good choices. Let's contact Chiron. Let's get in touch with camp. I think that's smart. It's a great place to open the chapter. We're just, as we were saying last time, just over halfway through the book now. So it feels like we've been far from camp for a while. We want to touch base. And I like that we don't actually get Chiron because he's a dumb fuck and he only does things wrong.
Because why would we? Honestly, probably for the best. How, pray tell, are they gonna get in contact with Camp Half-Blood? They can't use phones. What are they gonna do?
They are gonna send an Iris message. I did enjoy this. Percy's like, wait, but you said we can't have phones. And Annabeth's like, not with a phone, idiot. We're gonna use a do-it-yourself car wash.
It's like, oh, right, because what else would we use?
As someone who lives in the Denver area with the Rocky Mountains looming over me, I did really enjoy the description of they're like a tidal wave about to crash into the city. Just that looming presence. And I think that resonated with me in particular for 2 reasons. One, because I'm a small Midwestern boy who never saw mountains growing up.
We come from flat lands.
We do. But 2, because I think that mountains in particular would only look menacing to Percy. Mountains are not Poseidon's domain. They reach into the sky, which is more Zeus's thing. But even the Earthshaker himself really doesn't have much to do with mountains. So I do think they're just this looming, ominous presence of something that Percy has no control over. And really, that's as far as you can get from the ocean, is up at the top of one of these mountains.
That's a very astute observation. Yeah, they definitely, maybe not as much in Denver as somebody who's been several times, but especially as you get further into the Rockies. I've been all throughout Appalachia, but the Rockies feel claustrophobic.
Yeah.
There are a lot of sheer cliff faces, and it can be intimidating and overwhelming to be in them. Again, I am also a small Midwestern boy, so maybe that's just me not being built different, but I totally agree with the idea that there is this looming presence that gets Percy a bit unnerved and on edge.
And I like that that's going to play out through the rest of the chapter. Like, that feels like there is the setup for the uncomfortable feeling that Ares is just going to exude on them.
Yeah.
And this is just, it's all adding together and making every part of it worse. Like, he's already uneasy, and then it just keeps getting ramped up throughout the chapter until he snaps.
Persistent threat just keeps building. Yeah. We get a bit of whimsy with the Iris messaging. I love this power system. I've always thought Iris messages were really cool. I like the idea that anywhere that you're able to make a rainbow, whether it's with a do-it-yourself car wash or going into a fountain, just anywhere where you could get a rainbow to be consistently showing, and you have a golden drachma, you can probably do an iris message. It's really cool for set pieces. I know in the future, Rick gets a bit creative. At least I seem to remember he gets a bit creative with how they're able to do iris messaging. And I also like the idea, and he sets this early, that iris messages, sometimes you might have all the prerequisites, but she just is busy. Sometimes you don't
Tells you
have
no.
cell service and you're just kind of SOL, but it does work this time. And we get this cool image of the spray gun set to the mist setting. A rainbow forms and they flick the drachma through it and it just dissipates. And now, where the rainbow in the mist was, there's just this almost like perfect opening, this shimmering portal that peers through the strawberry fields of Camp Half Blood and eventually lands on our favorite boy. He's back, Luke.
I specifically noted, you should have been more specific than just Half-Blood Hill, because you can call out a specific person, and you could have gotten Chiron, but you said Half-Blood Hill, so we get Luke.
Yeah, and what if they just got some random fucking useless camper too? It's like, oh
Lincoln!
yeah, yeah, Lincoln. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh great. We've got some nobody from Hephaestus cabin. That'll be super helpful.
This random 9-year-old. But no, thankfully they luck into Luke,
Mhm.
who,
Yeah.
given what he says, that Chiron is off dealing with some disagreements between campers, Luke might just be standing up here at the big house relishing in his victory. Because he's the one sowing all of the distrust and the complications that are arising at camp.
This entire conversation, this entire interaction, in Luke's mind, the plan is going off without a hitch.
I
I
mean,
just think about
absolutely.
it in terms of you've got the campers back at camp that are fighting with one another. People are picking sides. He says it's like the Trojan Wars shaping up all over again. Aphrodite, Ares, Apollo are all backing Poseidon for the most part. And Athena is the one sole cabin that's backing Zeus. You know, we can't win them all, Athena cabin. Sometimes
Nope.
we make the wrong choice. And he keeps poking and prodding. How are you guys doing? What's happening? And he says, hey, listen, I wish I could be there to help you, but I really think it's gotta be Hades who took the Master Bolt. I mean, he was there at the winter solstice, and I was chaperoning at the field trip. I saw that. With his helm of darkness, he could have taken it, and at the very least, it had to be somebody that's invisible, because Percy is starting to point out, like, but Chiron said a god can't take another god's item directly, and Luke kind of brushes it off. And I love the redirection. I have to believe this was on purpose, where he's like,
Oh,
yeah, it
absolutely.
had to be somebody that's invisible. "Oh, no, of course I don't mean Annabeth. Annabeth would never." And it's just enough to where even if Percy doesn't necessarily believe Annabeth would do that, it just throws you off kilter a bit. It sows a little bit of doubt, and it at the very least distracts Percy.
Oh, yeah. Well, and for Percy, this is lining up with the prophecy, which says you will be betrayed by someone you
Yeah.
call a friend. And it almost makes me wonder if Luke somehow managed to have information on that prophecy to know he should redirect, or if he just has enough experience with being one of the only campers of recent memory who was able to get a prophecy. And therefore, he's like, I know this prophecy is going to have something about a traitor. I have to
Mhm.
throw him off my scent in case he thinks it's me. And the redirect based on what Chiron said, it's all so well done.
Yeah.
Even just, and I know I mentioned it already, but when he says Chiron had to break up a fight and that things are pretty tense at camp, who's to say that it wasn't Luke who turned around and dropped the information? This feels like one of those things where, look, the gods are fighting, everyone's kind of bound to find out. But Luke is a camp counselor for the largest cabin. It would be so easy for him to just quickly spread a rumor.
Oh,
Tell Connor
I would
Stoll,
say
and the whole camp knows.
I wouldn't say that's even up for speculation. He all but says it. He says word leaked about the Zeus Poseidon standoff. We're
Mm-hmm.
still not sure how. Probably the same scumbag who summoned the Hellhound, which
Oh
is
my
him.
god, he
He's the
does say it was
scumbag.
him.
He outright says it's him.
That's awesome. I did go through and check which gods haven't picked a side yet. We've got Artemis, Hera, Dionysus, Hephaestus, Demeter, and Hermes. And I was trying to figure out who would land on which side, by the way.
Mhm.
Because if Aphrodite, Ares, and Apollo were already backing Poseidon, Artemis tends to stay out of things, but if she had to pick a side, in the Trojan War, she was on Apollo's side. They fought together. So, like, probably slotting her in on Poseidon's side.
Yep.
Dionysus is a daddy's boy, so probably slotting him in for Zeus. Hera, in this instance, I'm guessing that's another one for Zeus's side. Demeter, I get the feeling she also, being one of Zeus's original siblings, falls into that one. And Hermes is my real wild card. I can see Hermes going either way.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Well, Hephaestus, yeah, also, I don't think you mentioned him.
Oh, I didn't
Hephaestus is
mention.
going with Aphrodite. Like, he's going with Poseidon,
Yep,
right?
he's going with Poseidon. By PJO lore, he's definitely going with Aphrodite. But as we'll talk in some myths later, he actually does have some respect for Poseidon. So I think he might have just gone with Poseidon on his own anyway. Not even
Mm,
to mention the divorce. Don't get me started.
right. Hey, fair. Okay. But yeah, Hermes, I don't know. I see Hermes going on whatever side he thinks is going to win.
Honestly, I really thought maybe he's just Switzerland. Guys, I'm just here to deliver mail.
He could be the messenger between the two.
Yeah, he's the Red Cross.
He's the Red Cross. That's actually great. I like that. Perfect. He doesn't even pick a side. He chooses the secret third option, being
Yep.
neutral.
So, anyhow, brief tangent, but Luke does effectively and very sneakily go, "You'd have to be invisible." Oh, wait. And from there, at that point, he's like, "Oh, how have the shoes been?" And Percy's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
really good.
Again,
Definitely using
and
them."
he is so happy about that. And again, if for first read through, you're probably like, oh, he's just happy that he thinks that Percy is using the gift that he gave him. But in his mind, he's just like, check, another check.
Uh-huh.
Everything is falling into place. And they fit properly. Yeah, man, I'm glad you're getting use out of them. But before he can get any more information or before he could sow any more distrust or confusion, the message begins to fade. And I like that the last thing he says is yet another point that would be sowing confusion or frustration or
Yup.
discord, which is, oh, and tell Grover it'll be better this time. Nobody will get turned into a pine tree if he just. And then the message ends. It doesn't even matter what
He's
the
so
last part is.
sneaky.
It doesn't even matter. He could say something incredibly profound, but he knows that it is a sore spot for Grover that he failed miserably, or what he views as failing miserably with Thalia. And
Yeah.
so just throwing that back at his face as a little like means of discombobulation, what a fucking asshole. I love this guy.
It's so well crafted. And here's the thing, because Rick does a little bit of something off the page here. Percy catches up Luke. He tells them everything that they've already done, and that's all just glossed over, right? Rick doesn't belabor us with writing the book
Right.
again. But what must be included in that is, oh, and by the way, we're in Denver. Because that
Mm.
is how Ares knows where to go to Percy. Because Ares is about to
Mm.
offload at the beginning of next chapter when he gives them the backpack. That's the moment he offloads the lightning bolt onto Percy. So this is further setting up for their plan.
Mhm.
It's so subtle, but it is literally the whole reason that this chapter happens, that Ares shows up, is because Luke hears from them.
It's so interesting. So in that case, with the Iris message going to Luke, is that really just fortuitous, or is there something else happening in the background to where he was able to, like, I don't know, would he be able to just make sure that the messages go to him?
That's what I was trying to figure out. I can't think of any way magically. It might just be enough that he's, hey, I'm going to hang around the big house while sowing all this discourse
Mm,
so that when something happens, even if Chiron is around, it's
right.
not unreasonable for me to just be hanging out and trying to help him so that I can help receive any messages from Percy. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. If that's
Yeah,
not what it is, Ares is a god. Presumably he could just find them. It still feels just a little too perfect. Why else would we
yeah.
have this 2 pages attached at the beginning of this chapter in particular?
Mhm. I agree with you.
But with that, Percy, as the call ends and Annabeth's like, "What did Luke say?" He just hits you with a real stinger. Not much, I lied, my stomach feeling as empty as a big three cabin.
Yeah. Which, as a very brief aside, the entire time Percy is having this call, Annabeth and Grover are off menacing somebody. We don't know what they do, but we hear screams and the car that was pulling into the car wash, like, skirts away, and they're just laughing. So they did something abhorrent to just presumably a regular person.
I do live right next to one of these self-serve car washes, so it is also my headcanon that it is specifically the rundown self-serve car wash right by where I live.
Oh my gosh, I know the exact one you're
Yes,
talking about. That's actually great. Yeah,
it just fits too perfect, but with
it
that, they
does.
are in desperate need of food.
Oh, they're starving. They're so hungry. Which is, I forgot how common of a thing that was in this book. They're always starving and need food, which makes sense.
It's just one of those plot points that by later novels is just resolved.
Yeah, and there's something about the pluckiness of this first road trip that's just so endearing. I like the idea that they have to worry about logistics. I like that they are constantly the underdogs here.
Mhm.
Even though Percy is child of big 3 and can control water and all that stuff, and Annabeth is wicked smart, and Grover is literally the goat, like, dude, they could just starve to death.
Still gotta eat.
And there's something about that ruggedness that I thoroughly enjoy in this initial road trip novel. There's just something so fun about a little problem of, "Yep, my stomach growls, and I haven't eaten in 24 hours, and I really could just go for some fries, but I have no money. How are we gonna eat?" And that's the problem of the chapter, right? Or starting the chapter.
Yeah. I would argue that that is quite literally the driving force for the chapter is they need stuff and Ares has the
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah. It's actually I didn't even really think about it that way, but this is just another example of them being lured in by and with food. It keeps
Oh my
happening to
gosh.
them.
This is the 3rd time, isn't it?
Yes.
'Cause it's the snack bar at the Arch, the smell of Auntie M's, that's crazy.
Uh-huh. They gotta
I guess
pack
they
some more
just gotta
protein
stop
bars or
eating.
something. Yeah. Or that, or just stop. Yeah, get over it.
It just don't be hungry.
Unfortunately, they are children who are starving. So they wander into this diner, and a waitress who I can only assume her name is like Dorothy May or something. She's like, "What do you want?" And they have no funds and are at their wits' end. And Percy's trying to think of another sob story. He does not say that they're from a traveling circus again. But lo and behold, a divine bit of intervention helps them. How fortuitous. A terrifying man, just
Yes.
just a real horrifying visage of a person, shows up at the diner, and I love this entire section of Ares' introduction is so good. Percy says, "I'm trying to think up a story for the waitress when a rumble shook the whole building. A motorcycle the size of a baby elephant had pulled up to the curb. All conversation in the diner stopped. The motorcycle's headlight glared red. Its gas tank had flames painted on it, and a shotgun holster riveted to either side, complete with shotguns. The seat was leather, but leather that looked like, well, Caucasian human skin."
So nasty. It's so
It's so
good.
nasty. The vibes just get even more potent once he enters. The guy on the bike would have made pro wrestlers run for mama. He was dressed in a red muscle shirt, black jeans, black leather duster with a hunting knife strapped to his thigh. He wore red wraparound shades and had the cruelest, most brutal face I'd ever seen. Handsome, I guess, but wicked. An oily black crew cut and cheeks that were scarred from many, many fights. The weird thing was, I felt like I'd seen his face somewhere before. And then this character, who we'll come to know as Ares, has just this cowboy moment. This stranger moseys into town and boots his way into the saloon. And as he's walking into the diner, a hot, dry wind blows through the place. All the people rose as if they were hypnotized, but the biker waved his hand dismissively, and they all sat down. Everybody went back to their conversations. The waitress blinked as if somebody had just pressed the rewind button on her brain. She asked us again, "You kids have money to pay for it?" That entire few paragraph chunk is so fucking cool.
It tells you everything you need to know about
Oh,
Ares right
I
there.
know this guy. This is not somebody you want to fuck with, and he is bad, bad news. Like, this is truly, even in comparison to some of the monsters that they've dealt with, this is the most intimidating force that they have confronted, or has confronted them, I should say.
And with that, Ares is one of the gods that is unafraid to use his full power on
Oh, yeah.
mortals. That's what it is. He lets all of the mortals get up, stop, and give him the attention he knows he deserves because he is
Mhm,
divine. And he only lets them go back to their meals when he says so. And that
mhm,
alone establishes so much about him in comparison to so many of the other characters that we will meet that have this level of force of will and power. No need to exercise it, but Ares, you better believe he's getting the respect he knows he's due.
It's so interesting that you viewed that as respect, and I don't disagree. I initially read that as he enters, they all stand up like they're hypnotized, and I view that as they're like, "Oh, so are we gonna fight? Is it time for just a massive barroom brawl?" And he waves his hand like, "No, not now." And then they all go back to doing their stuff. That's how I viewed it.
I
He
don't think you're
enters, and
wrong.
everybody is on a razor's edge of, "Who am I gonna start beating the shit out of?"
I think you're totally right. I think that is Ares' influence, and I think he sees that as the respect he deserves. Whether or not
Mhm,
he's hypnotizing or not, he is forcing their mortal brains to be at his beck and call. And this
yeah.
time you get to sit back down and do what you want. But the fact that your brain did not have a chance but listened to my magic, that is what he wants.
Mhm. He's so
And
cool.
he follows it up with, "See your old seaweeds, kid, huh?" And Percy, "What's it to ya?" Annabeth, of
Yeah,
course, is like, "Oh, don't do that, don't do that. This is," and he so chill. I love this about him because it's consistent, right?
yeah.
Other gods, they really might be upset if Percy said that, but Ares, he knows that one, he's causing it, and two,
Mhm.
he's digging it. He says,
He
"This is
revels
okay.
in it.
I don't mind a little attitude. Long as you remember who's the boss." Exactly. He's reveling
Mhm.
in the attention. He's
Yeah.
reveling in getting Percy amped up on the edge of his seat and ready to hit somebody.
Yeah, dude, Percy says he was filled with anger, resentment, bitterness. He recognizes the threat in front of him, but he feels like he wants to hit a wall. He wants to pick a fight with somebody. Who does this guy think he is? And it just totally overrides Percy, what we've seen, his innate sense of survival instinct. He is willing to throw it all away just because of the rage that he is feeling right now.
It sets the scene so well. And from there, the waitress comes back out with food. Ares pays her with golden drachma, which, like, hey, good,
Yeah.
he paid. That's the thing. Ares does believe in honor to some extent,
Mhm.
right? He's not going to walk away without paying. And
Yep.
Annabeth's like, "You can't just push people around." She knows that that's not the
Yeah.
right currency. And he's like, "What are you gonna do about it?"
I'm giving him gold. I'm giving him better than what's legal tender in the US, 1.
Yeah.
2, why the fuck are you speaking up to me? And you mentioned honor. He does a lot of dishonorable things. And he even mentions how war can be based on deception and things that would be considered uncouth. But I do like how when Percy recognizes, "Oh, you're Clarice's dad," this is where we get the name drop, Ares, god of war. Ares is like, "Yeah, that's right. And I heard you broke Clarice's spear." Percy just says, "She was asking for it." And I love it doesn't get a rise out of Ares. Ares is just like,
Nope.
"Probably. That's cool. I don't fight my kids' fights." And there is a sense of like, yeah, she wasn't strong enough. I gave her something, she lost it to you, pipsqueak. Like, why the fuck am I gonna try and get mad about my daughter being a weakling? That's on
Yeah.
her. I gave
Ares
her everything
respects
she
strength.
needed. Yeah,
Mhm. And
right of
you know
might.
what? If Clarice can't prove she's stronger than Percy, that's her problem. He gives what I would call a scathing review of this country. which is that he
Yes, I
says,
was
"Are
just
you
about to
kidding?
say.
I love this country. Best place since Sparta."
Yep. That little blurb, I don't know if I could say that it's aged like wine or milk. I really don't know. Ares would love the United States of America. So, something to think about, I guess. I don't know what we do
Yep.
with that.
Then we start to get to the actual quest line. Ares
Yes.
says, "Oh, wait, by the way, I have this exclamation point over my head. Here's a side quest." He outlines the whole thing. "I was going on a date at an abandoned water
Yeah.
park here in town, and I got interrupted, and I left my shield behind. And you're gonna go get it." That's it. That's the whole quest.
I love that Percy Jackson makes everything very PG, and it makes sense. But I was like, I was going on a little date. Yeah, a date with my girlfriend. It's like, man, he was doing all sorts of crazy shit with Aphrodite. Like, they get freaky deaky. You just know it.
Ares is willing to talk about blood, violence, and murder in front of children, but he does draw the line at his sexual exploits.
How very American. Violence is
True.
chill, but sex, absolutely fucking not. All right. Put the nipple away and let's get back to watching people blow each other's brains out.
Yeah,
Uh huh.
that's it. And of course, Percy, spunky as ever, is like, "Why don't you go get it yourself?"
Yeah. Ares is starting to get not frustrated, but he's like, all right, buddy, you're laying it on a little fucking thick. And I like that he says the fire in his eye sockets started to glow a little hotter. He goes, why don't I turn you into a prairie dog and run you over with my Harley? Because I don't feel like it. A god is giving you an opportunity to prove yourself, Percy Jackson. Will you prove yourself a coward? And he leans forward. He's just really domineering. Or maybe you only fight when there's a river to dive into so your daddy can protect you. And this next little bit is where I feel like we get a shift. Percy's still pissed throughout the rest of this conversation, but this is where the overwhelming threat of Ares, I think, starts to supersede the aura of anger and violence.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Percy, because it is internal monologue. Percy's like, I want to punch this guy in the throat. I hate this guy. But I know he wants that. Ares is causing this. He'd probably love it if I attacked. And I don't want to make him satisfied. And Percy backs off. And he says, we're not interested. We've already got a quest. And then this next part is fucking metal. Ares' fiery eyes made me see things I didn't want to see. Blood and smoke and corpses on the battlefield. It's like, dude, this is a child. Why are you
Mhm.
showing him that things are not, in fact, all quiet on the Western Front? Percy right now is 1,000 yard stare. He's on the beaches of Normandy.
He'd be safer there. It's a beach. But
Shit, maybe.
yeah, but you're right. And with all of that being said, what's really cool is you go from Ares now has turned the conversation. He's fully in control
Hmm.
now. Percy is
Yeah.
listening, and then he starts to do exactly what Luke was doing. He doubles down on what benefits him. He says, "Hey, look, if I couldn't find the weapon, if I couldn't find the Master Bolt, then nobody could." And here's the thing, Ares thinks he's being really slick, and he's like, "Phew, if I couldn't find it, nobody could." But what he's actually doing is if you're really, now granted, if you're really me and you've read this book so many times that of course you know what's happening, he's outlining exactly his plan, just like Luke has done.
Oh, yeah.
Of course he found the weapon that powerful. He's Ares, which is
He's
why he
Ares.
has it. And
Mhm.
he says, "Your dad and I go way back. After all, I'm the one who told him my suspicion about old corpse breath. You told him Hades stole the bolt? Sure." And then this is where I think he slips up.
Mm.
And I do imagine this is intentional on Rick's part because Ares isn't the
Oh, it is.
brightest. Framing somebody to start a war, oldest trick in the book, which means
Mhm.
he's now said it. He said it out
Yeah.
loud. Hades didn't do it. You're going the wrong way. And
Yeah.
Percy doesn't catch it. And they're all far too busy. They're all amped up. Emotions are high. They just gloss right over it. But that's it. That's between Luke this chapter and Ares this chapter. We can see everybody who's working against them in full clarity if you know what you're looking for. It's
Oh, yeah.
really cool.
It's really fucking cool. I underlined and highlighted that section about framing somebody to start a war. I love he just gave them the answer. Just right in front of them. It's so fucking cool.
What can he
It's so
say?
good.
He's a generous guy.
He is. Good transition, Connor.
And being a generous guy, he tells them that if they do his little side quest, that he'll get a ride west for them because this is as far as their Amtrak ticket got them. So
Yeah.
Percy, of course, says, "No, buzz off. I'm not going to do it."
Mhm.
And Ares is like, "No, seriously, you will fail without my help.
Oh,
So
you're
you're gonna
fucked.
help
Yeah.
me."
You've got no money, no wheels, no bitches, no nothing. You're fucked without me.
I think you threw in an extra there, but it is implied.
It is heavily implied.
And then he drops the last thing that really is necessary to get Percy motivated.
Mhm.
"I'll tell you something you need to know. Something about your mom."
How your
And
mom
from
doing,
there
Percy? How's Sally doing? I know. I know how she's doing. You wanna know?
and from there, Percy is hooked. Hook, line, and sinker, and he's headed off to Waterland.
And I love that Ares could have led with that and had him on the hook the entire time, but again, Ares was reveling in that entire interaction, and I can't help but feel like Ares, I'm sure, hates Percy, but does kinda fucking love that guy. 'Cause he's such a spitfire. He'd be a great child of Ares. He's
He would.
aggressive, he holds his ground, he's a fucking killer, literally a killer. He's,
Yeah,
great
he's
with the
everything
blade.
Ares wants out of his campers. There's just one problem. He's a little too poised and a little too honorable,
Yeah,
which is crazy because this is Percy.
and I know. It just goes to show you how shitty the Ares cabin is.
No kidding. But before we continue, we really enjoy making this show, and we hope you're enjoying too. If you are, leave us a comment. Let us know what you like, and we'll make sure to include more of that. Leave a review, it really helps the show. And more than anything else, make sure you share with your friends. Let's get back to it, shall we? With that, Ares, knowing he's finally gotten them on board, he just vanishes. He's
Yeah,
gone. They finish their
he's
food, and
gone,
they are off to Waterland.
but he leaves with, "There's a little something up. There's something's wrong here." Percy's already on high alert. And so you asked a good question. What actually happened? What interrupted your date? Like, you're Aries. What could have stopped you? And Aries lets something show a little bit. There is this threatening gaze that he gives him, but there's something false. It's a fake bravado. Like he's nervous. So not always what it seems with this little side quest, obviously, but now Percy's even clocked it.
They're walking into a trap. And now they have an inkling, right? This can't be good. So they're tense, but now they've finally had some food. As the sun begins to set behind the mountains, they are headed up to Watchrad because a whole bunch of the
Yeah.
letters have been smashed out from Waterland.
Yes.
As someone who lives here, we actually have two big water parks that I thought this could kind of be because there's no real Waterland. Best guess is the bigger one that we have that's very popular, but not abandoned by any means, and that's Water World. It's actually north of the city, not in the city, but there is one in the city, and that's Island Kingdom. I haven't been to either of these because I'm an adult without kids and I don't go to water parks.
That's incredibly fair.
I'm going to guess that this is probably around where Island Kingdom is because that would put you pretty smack dab downtown by the sports stadiums and things. And I feel like if Ares was
Mhm.
planning a date with his girlfriend, he would want to be near like Ball Arena,
Actually, so true. Yeah,
right?
I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah.
So that's my little headcanon. It's where Island Kingdom is in real Denver. And so Percy, I love that he's able to remember that Hephaestus is married,
Yeah.
or rather that Aphrodite is married, but he
Mhm.
doesn't remember that her and Ares are a thing. And I feel like knowing that Aphrodite and Ares are a thing is so much more common.
Oh, that's, like, absolutely more common knowledge than Hephaestus.
So it's
Like,
like,
it's pretty close. Like, if you know one, I feel like you have to know the other, but if you were
I'll give you
only
that.
to know one, it would be Ares and Aphrodite, love and war.
Yeah. So it's just baffling to me that he's like, who is she? Echidna? Which
Yeah.
solid burn. I'll
Oh,
give
yeah.
him that one. Who would date
Very,
Ares?
very
I don't know, maybe
topical.
a
Mhm.
goddess of monsters. Yeah, topical.
Yep.
And then Grover's like, "No, Aphrodite."
The
That's
goddess
it.
of love.
He's just so smitten. Good old
Uh-huh.
Grover.
Did you ever watch? Because I know Hercules is your favorite Disney movie, correct?
It's up there. Top 5 for sure.
Okay. Did you ever watch the show, the Hercules show that
I
was
can't
on in, like,
bring
the late
myself to
'90s,
do it,
early
Jack.
2000s? What? Really? It's good, though.
Is it good? I'm so worried that those are gonna be bad. I've seen it on
No!
Disney Plus every time I watch Hercules, and I'm like, "Am I gonna be depressed if I watch this?" And then I don't watch it.
Dude, I mean, I haven't seen it in a long, long time, but I remember it being pretty solid, and I've seen
Alright.
clips of it floating around on Instagram. The main one is that whenever Aphrodite shows up, she has a little jingle that plays where this little choir goes, "Aphrodite, Aphrodite, Aphrodite, the goddess of love," and then she's there.
That's so perfect. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Watch the Hercules show, man. I think you'll enjoy it. Whenever Grover is getting smitten over Aphrodite, it's that little jingle's playing in the back of my head.
I love it. Grover might be literally head over heels, except he's not because he's getting a little bit of a hang of these shoes, and he flies over the fence. Oh, no,
He
he
does a
does go
full
head
flip.
over heels because he does
He
the
does.
unintended somersault. I should have just gone
No,
with the
no.
first time.
Very intended somersault. He sticks the landing.
He does stick the landing. Annabeth and Percy
Dust
have
off
to
his jeans.
climb the old-fashioned way.
Mhm.
And now they are in the park. They resupply, they get some waterland, clothes, backpacks, etc. All the stuff that you would need as a demigod on a mission.
Mhm. We get another strange instance of Percy caring about social norms, where
You
Annabeth is
can't
like, "Yeah,
steal.
I know. Wait, you can't steal from the abandoned water park? Come on! How is that fair to the corporation? Why do you care?"
I actually think that might just be because he knows he's a wanted criminal now, and he's like, "Guys, I can't be wanted for more crimes."
You know, in for a penny, in for a pound. At this
See,
point, just you're going away for life and getting the chair. Like,
and
just
that's
do
what
it
I was
whenever
gonna
you want
say.
now.
Annabeth is probably thinking, "Dude, you're already wanted for many violent crimes.
Yes.
What's that
Oh,
gonna do to you?"
you are gonna be serving multiple life sentences. You're not even gonna get a plea deal. Like, you are every prosecutor's wet dream. Just keep doing whatever you wanna do at this point. You're freed from the shackles of societal norms.
I guarantee that the cost of these few Waterland t-shirts and other commemorative items are less than the literal bus you destroyed.
Yes.
Or, the national monument that you blew a hole
Yep,
in.
that you just blew a hole in.
Oh
But
my
Percy cares
gosh.
about big companies and says, "This isn't right. This isn't what the social contract agrees to."
Sure, man, sure.
Uh-huh. He quickly acquiesces. And now they're all
They
decked out in Waterland stuff.
and now they're all decked out in Waterland stuff. They discuss some 3,000-year-old gossip around Aphrodite, Hephaestus, and Ares. They discuss Hephaestus's backstory a little bit, how he was crippled when he was a baby, thrown off Mount Olympus by Zeus, notably the Zeus version of the story. Again,
Mhm.
myth notes. And they briefly mention the time that Hephaestus caught Ares and Aphrodite in a golden net. And now we've got all the pieces. We know why Ares is afraid of Hephaestus seeing him with his girlfriend, why their dates are in secret, and we know why you specifically, Percy, should be scared.
Yeah.
And immediately. Now, this is partially because I have run a D&D game based around this world, and so anything bronze means that it can hurt a demigod.
Yep.
So I saw around the rim a dozen bronze statues of Cupid stood guard, and I thought to myself, yeah, that's a trap. Those are automatons of some kind. You're so
Yeah.
screwed.
What's also really interesting is, and I don't know if you picked up on this, I would assume you did, but they're specifically statues of Cupid, not Eros,
Yep.
which is the Greek version, which is the child of Aphrodite and Ares, or their Roman counterparts, I suppose. Well,
Yep.
Eros is, you know what I mean.
Oh,
Uh,
I do. And I do think you're clever to point that out. And I also think it's probably one of those things where it's like, how do I make this more enticing? They're
Mhm.
both self-centered. I'll put their son front and center. Won't that just make this the perfect place for a date?
And that's so fucked, because it's like, yeah, you guys are gonna bone down, here's a bunch of statues of your kid.
Hey man, gods are weird.
I know. They fucking each other left, right, and center. I shouldn't hold my mortal morals up to their standards of incest, but besides the point, I just found it interesting that it was specifically Cupid. That might be more for the reader, because, like, who the fuck knows about Eros?
Yeah,
But everybody knows who Cupid is.
everybody knows who Cupid is. And even for Percy, who's been studying this sort of stuff, a little cherub in a diaper, that's just Cupid, you know?
Yeah.
And he's our narrator. I think if Annabeth was our narrator, they would be statues of Eros.
Mhm.
But with that, look, there's the shield.
Yep.
Percy is onto it. He says, this is too easy. We just walk down there and get it?
Yeah. The setup for this is really good, right? So we get those bronze statues, and there's the tunnel that's opened up, and it's where water would usually flow, but it's empty. It's a defunct water park, so there is no water. It's just a big old basin. That's what they're rocking with, a big old open basin. And it's a very basic set piece. It's nothing too crazy, which makes it all the better when shit does finally hit the fan and it gets really complicated really fast.
Yeah. And there's a couple of fun details through here. They have Grover check for monsters, because finally they've learned their lesson, and they should trust Grover's
Yes.
nose. And he doesn't
Uh-huh.
smell monsters. So they're like, okay, no monsters. We trust you this time. After that, they start dividing up roles. Grover, you're going to stay back because you can literally fly right now. Annabeth and I are going to go forward. They have a cute little, you want me to go to the tunnel of love with you?
Yeah.
Which
Uh-huh.
is just great. Percy's
It's
like,
so
ugh,
good.
leave it to a girl to make
Women.
everything complicated.
It's so good. They both get so flustered and they're blushing. And I do love genuinely Percy was not thinking about that like at
No,
all. He's like, this makes the most sense.
it's
So
so much
yeah,
cuter
like
that way.
it's adorable that Annabeth is like, you clearly aren't reading between the lines. He's like, dude, I can barely read, period. What do you mean between the lines?
There are lines?
Yeah.
Of course, that quickly changes as soon as he gets it when he's like, oh, I picked up the scarf. And he's just immediately smitten. Annabeth is like, all right, we have got to straighten you out. Give me that.
Yeah.
She
Yep.
shoves it in her pocket. Stay away from
Mhm.
that love magic.
Love magic is bad news. Stay the fuck away from it. And I love how it's described a bit more. So they go down into this basin, they reach the boat. You know, the shield is propped up on one seat, and then there's Aphrodite's, well, what we assume to be Aphrodite's silk scarf. And Percy's thinking, he's like, why the fuck are two gods boning in this piece of shit water park? Why would they do it here? There's so many other places. The world is literally at their disposal. And he looks around and looks up and sees that there are mirrors, like, everywhere. And Percy, again, only being 11 or 12, he still puts together, he's like, "You know what? That must be it. All the mirrors. While Ares and Aphrodite are smooching with each other, they could look at their favorite people, themselves."
Themselves. Yep.
Which is also a fun little callback and potential callback to the myth of Narcissus,
Mm-hmm.
who I don't think actually involves either Aphrodite or Ares, but the idea of somebody who is so narcissistic and self-involved that they are more in love with themselves than anybody else. I think that's a fun little reference. If it wasn't one, well, I'm making it one.
If you're just making it one, you have my stamp of approval.
Thank you, Oracle.
And at this point, would you look at that? There's a tripwire, and Annabeth finally puts it together. Wait, Percy, too late.
Mhm.
This is a trap.
I love how this is it's our introduction to like what Hephaestus is able to make. Because again, all we've seen in terms of the Greek stuff is very anachronistic. It's very like there's these marble columns and they don't use phones, they use the mist and rainbows. But then you get Hephaestus and it's like full on magical steampunk. There's this
Yeah.
strand that almost seems like a cobweb that shimmers in the light if you hold it at just the right angle, but it is just this really, really thin metal filament. It's almost invisible. And then we see, now that they're trapped, the full extent, or at least some extent, of what Hephaestus is just able to whip up. And it's really interesting. The mechanics, the literal mechanics, like the building of stuff in Percy Jackson, is something I never really paid much attention to in my first read through. But thinking back on it, it's actually pretty neat.
Yeah. And what's really fun about all of this is it simultaneously feels properly mechanical and
Yes.
technological while also being dead ass completely ripped from the myth. Like,
Yeah.
down to the near invisible filament of metal, that is all ripped 100% straight from the original myth where he captures Ares and Aphrodite in a golden net, which is
Mhm.
so fun.
And I feel like Rick does a good job with keeping the more, again, mechanical side of the demigod world. He does a good job of keeping it properly mythological. There's a good mesh of it being modern and myth, which is just, again, where Percy Jackson thrives. So I'm just throwing my flowers there. It's
Oh,
something we'll
yeah.
see more down the line, but I like that this is the first introduction. It's a very fun.
To me, it's little things like it's an army of wind up creepy crawlies, bronze gear
Mhm.
bodies, spindly legs, little pincer mouths, all scuttling toward us in a wave of clacking, whirring metal. And Annabeth immediately screams, "Spiders!"
Yep.
But what's cool about that is, look, to me as a reader, making a robot that is a spider is so impractical. Why is this not a little drone on a wheel?
Uh-huh.
Because it's got that mythological component. It
Mhm.
being a creature like a spider that should weave webs is somehow more mythological magical. I
Yeah.
can't really explain why. It just is, and that I think is those small details that you're drawing attention to.
Mhm. Now I'm gonna totally undercut everything we just said by saying that the Cupid's head pop open and a full ass fucking video camera comes out, along with spotlights. But, that's the exception, and the actual mechanism of what that's trying to achieve is very funny. So they are now on camera, and over the loudspeaker, there's this voice that's booming, "Live to Olympus in 1 minute, 59 seconds, 58 seconds." And now Annabeth is like, "Oh, fuck. It's Hephaestus. I'm so dumb. The Edda is H. He made this trap to catch his wife with Ares." And she's now like, "Why didn't I see this before? How could I have missed all of this?" And is also grappling with the fact that she is in what truthfully should be the perfect trap because Hephaestus made it.
Might I put it to you that the video cameras popping out of Cupid's head is to make it weird so that their son is
Mm,
watching,
yeah. Well,
right?
there you
Like,
go. It is weird.
it is supposed to be weird.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that. Thanks for bringing it back. Because at first I was
I
like, "Man,
got
that's
you.
fucking gross," and now it's like, "Oh, like, intentionally gross."
It's
Okay.
intentionally gross,
Yeah.
exactly. And now they have to start figuring a plan. They're on the clock, they've got a timer, and Percy, I like this. I like that Percy is the one who has a plan. He's like, "Water.
Yeah.
That's what we need. Grover,
Mhm.
get in there, turn on the water."
Yeah. Well, this is such a cool situation to be in. Annabeth, the smart one, is effectively out of commission. So
Yep.
how is Percy going to react and act in this situation where the brains are gone? It's
When he's
just
the
him.
guy. He's
Yeah.
the guy. He has to be the one in charge.
Mhm.
And good for him, he still cares about seatbelt safety, which is the
He
true
does.
theme of the novel. Water
Yeah, that's
exploded
right.
out of the pipes. It roared into
Uh-huh.
the pool, sweeping away the spiders. He pulls Annabeth into the seat next to him and fastens her seatbelt. He doesn't do what you're supposed to do, which is take care of yourself and then the others around you. But I'll cut him some slack. He's doing the right thing. And
That's right.
lo and behold, he is very right to do so. Everything goes well. The water floods in. And this is where we get another one of Percy's powers. He is able to control boats with his mind. Sure, man.
It's so cool. Don't you love boat power? It's not like oh yeah, it's like he's controlling the water, which therefore controls the boat. I'm sure that's a part of it, but it's like, nah, dude, it's just the boats.
The boat is listening. It seemed to
Uh-huh.
respond to him. I just love that this isn't the only time, and it's not like, oh, weird one-off power. Sure, he's child of Poseidon. No, there will be more boats that Percy will have to talk to.
And Rick is such a good author. The seed was already planted. He's so good at
True.
canoeing
He's so good at canoeing.
because he was talking to the canoe. The much more cool power that is fleshed out is that Percy just kind of has control over water. At
Yep,
this point, the ocean doesn't seem to play a role. He just can do water stuff,
yep.
which is just the
Crazy
best.
useful power. I mean, that is
Uh-huh.
everywhere. It's water.
Yes. It's literally water. The best counter to Percy, like you said, throw him on a mountain, assuming there's not a stream nearby, or just toss him in a desert. Those are the
Yep.
counters. Anywhere else, he probably has the upper hand.
You're probably gonna lose.
Yep.
And, well, the Tunnel of Love is filled with water, or at the very least, it's currently filling with water as their boat is pushed up and through. They see all of the Valentine's-y stuff. They see pictures of Romeo and Juliet. And now they're just plummeting toward the end of the ride, and they are going to hit and ramp up and out of the park. And Percy goes, on my mark. And Annabeth says, no, that's stupid, on mine.
Uh-huh. Percy is having none of it. He just goes, Fine, whatever, you got it. Just when are we going?" And I do love that there's this moment where he says, Annabeth was right. Rick didn't need to add this. And that could have just been a fun little comedic moment. But I love that he adds this little blurb. Annabeth was right. If we'd jumped when I thought we should have, we would have crashed into the gates. She got us maximum lift.
It's cool. It shows that there's that little bit of, again, camaraderie.
Well, they were just talking about, like, how can we be cooperative? This was a perfect example of them working together seamlessly as they possibly could. Annabeth's weakness was exposed, which is dealing with spiders. Percy brute forced his way out of the trap. That's his role. And then once it took a little bit of strategic timing, Annabeth was back in and they both got out from, again, what is should be the perfect trap.
Grover comes in at the last moment to try and save everyone, meaning they still fall, but he slows them down so they're less
Yeah.
injured.
They
And
fall slightly less hard, and he shoves his face into Nunu the friendly whale. Very important detail.
I was wondering if you were going to bring it up. I was going to
Of
gloss
course.
over it.
I had to. It's stuff like that that just kills me every time with Rick. He could have
It's
just
so
said, "Oh,
fun.
Grover's head was going straight into the hole where tourists usually put their faces." It implies that Percy knows that that is in fact Nunu the friendly whale. It's not
I
just a whale, it's Nunu.
Do you think that his sea god blood is what makes him go, I understand this whale. I know your name.
Honestly, maybe. That's the headcanon now. That's another one of his really minor powers. If he sees an animal, a sea animal, in any context, it could be real, it could be in an aquarium, it could be fake, it could be clip art. He knows its name.
Well, at the end of all of it, Percy does as Percy does. And so he looks back at the spotlights and he yells, show's over. Thank you and good night.
Uh-huh. He hits a Truman Show. It's so good.
He does. And I like that he's sitting there genuinely like, I wonder if our ratings were good. I'm upset.
Yeah.
I'm pissed at Ares, but I
Yeah.
hope that we made for good TV.
Yeah. He's just so spiteful. He doesn't want to give the gods any satisfaction. And part of me does wonder, and I don't think it's brought up, but the idea of the gods watching this, I'm sure on like the big screen or whatever, and they're
Mhm.
like, what the fuck is going on? And the thought of Athena and Poseidon seeing their children, again, Poseidon and Athena, two people that are diametrically opposed, fucking hate each other, seeing their children work together. And then Poseidon, he has to feel proud, right? He
Oh,
has to be like,
yeah.
yeah, attaboy. That's right. Let him know.
It's so well done. It's so
Mhm.
much fun. That is our chapter. It ends with them being broadcast to Olympus and Grover slamming his face through Nunu the friendly whale. So,
Nunu the friendly whale. Yeah.
final thoughts on the chapter itself before we move on to some myths?
I loved this.
It's a lot of
I
fun.
really loved this chapter. I don't know what the official, like, rating for it would be, but it's definitely up there. This might be top 3.
This is another one, though, that, like, if you are looking to just get a taste of Percy Jackson, this one gives a solid taste of Percy Jackson.
Oh,
That's a good bite.
yes. Yeah, absolutely. It gives you so much. You might be a little confused about some of the stuff that's happening if you just, again, read it with 0 context. But as a little contained story, it is super satisfying, super, super fun. It is Percy Jackson at its most Perseus Jacksonist.
It's the middle cinnamon roll. It's everything you want.
It is. It's all the good stuff.
But why don't we take a seat next to Nunu the friendly whale here at Waterland,
Mhm.
and let's talk some myths, shall we?
Let's do it.
We're going to start with what came first in the chapter, Iris messages. Now, I feel like most people know Hermes as the messenger god. You think messenger god, you probably think Hermes. Who you don't probably think of is Iris, because she is the rainbow goddess, and
She's rainbows.
that is also very true. So let's talk about Iris, and she's actually not too much of a major player, so we can get through a lot pretty quickly. Iris's parents are very straightforward. From the time of the theogony, Iris has been the daughter of Thaumas. Thaumas is actually a name derived from the Greek word thaumatos, meaning miracle or wonder. He's an old sea god who was specifically the personification of the wonders of the sea. All of this is consistent across sources, including who Iris's mother is. In the theogony, she goes by the name Electra, but by later periods, she seems to go by the name Ozamine. Either way, we're pretty sure it's the same oceanid nymph. And perhaps more specifically, she also sometimes seems to be described as a cloud nymph, which would align with her role as the mother of Iris, as clouds are the source of rainbows. Kinda. So, Iris is literally the miracles or wonders of the world that come from a cloud. That's what a rainbow is. Great, that makes a lot of sense. Her name, however, Iris, is actually believed to be derived from the word ero or airo, meaning the speaker or the messenger. So her name actually does immediately lay her out as a messenger. And while we don't have any surviving statues of Iris, at least not in their entirety that we can definitively say, yeah, that's Iris, we do have a lot of examples of her appearance from other places and other art, such as potteries and paintings, etc. So we know that she had wings, frequently described as golden. She was traditionally feminine, depicted in robes, and she usually carried a staff, specifically a caduceus, just like Hermes.
Again?
Mm-hmm.
So many caduceuses.
Or at least 2. And sometimes she also carries a pitcher because one of her roles was actually bringing water up from the river Styx when the gods were going to swear on the river Styx, which is really cool.
That is dope.
So, Iris as a messenger, then. What evidence do we have for that outside of just her name? Literally every myth with Iris in it. In a lot of earlier works, she just seems to be a messenger for quite literally all of the gods. She does seem to deliver messages in particular for Zeus very frequently. So, for example, in the Homeric hymn to Demeter from around the 7th or 6th century BC, Zeus sends her to take a message to Demeter saying, hey, come back from your self-imposed exile. I know you're really sad about the abduction of your daughter, but stop it. People are dying. Winter sucks. Or in the Iliad, where she seems to just be the primary messenger for literally everyone. She frequently works on the benefit of Zeus, even quoting him verbatim to give out Zeus's word to mortals or other gods. She also sends messages for Hera, but at this point, she is also a messenger for Athena, transports Aphrodite, and even delivers messages to mortals such as Achilles or Menelaus.
She's hustling.
She is hustling, but what's interesting is over time, she becomes much more heavily associated specifically with Hera, becoming a servant to the Queen of the Gods. So by the time we have the myth of the birth of Apollo from the hymn to Delos, which is from around the 3rd century, so much later at this point, Iris actually goes along with Ares, tasked with threatening cities where Leto, the mother of Apollo, is attempting to land to give birth. And when Leto does give birth, it is Iris who swiftly returns to Olympus to be like, hey, Hera, that thing that you didn't want to happen happened. We also have a fragment from Hesiod's Catalogues of Women where the Argonauts pray to Zeus, and it is Hermes who brings a message back from Zeus. However, Apollonius Rhodius wrote a version of the Argonautica around the 3rd century BC where he specifically changes it, or rather states, that Hera was watching the Argonauts and sends Iris to help them in this exact moment where normally they have to pray to Zeus and Hermes helps them. So over time, quite specifically, messengers become more associated with Iris, and Iris becomes more associated with Hera. All of this is to say, Iris was most certainly a messenger goddess. Lots of references to this duty across mythology, her epithets, her artwork, no doubt about it. What is particularly fun to me, at least, though, is that Iris doesn't have any prominent temples, shrines, or sanctuaries. There's no festivals that they held in her honor. And yet, she's in a ton of art. She's in so many stories, ranging from the Birth of Apollo to the Iliad to many more. Because Iris doesn't have any clearly discernible origins, it really paints the picture that she existed as a narrative support for Greek mythology. When these people were coming up with these explanations for the world around them, they needed just another supporting actress to be in the story, deliver a message, but never be the leading lady.
Yeah, be a plot device.
And that is what I have to say about Iris. Kind of fun.
Damn. I was gonna say, we gotta show a little bit more respect to her. She did a lot.
But now we're moving into the drama. So
Good.
much of the drama.
I was gonna say, that was a little too straightforward. I wasn't going, "What?" at any point during the Iris myth.
Now we're going to get to all of the everything that happens between Hephaestus and Ares and Aphrodite. But for this one, in part because Annabeth mentioned it, but in part because it is relevant, we're going to be talking about the birth of Hephaestus and his fall from Olympus. I'm going to give my obligatory preface here. As with many of the major deities that oversaw aspects of everyday life for the people of ancient Greece, Hephaestus is a big and complicated topic. His history, his worship, and his influence spreads across multiple places, regions, peoples, and cultures. So, as with all of the stories where we're talking about major gods and goddesses, and in fact, we're going to be talking about 3 of them today, we're going to look at a very narrow band of that span. Specifically, for right now, like I said, we are talking about the birth of Hephaestus. So, this is a pretty straightforward story. From the Theogony, it goes as such. Zeus gives birth to Athena without Hera. And Hera doesn't like that, because she hates when Zeus does stuff without her.
Yep.
So, as a result of her anger, and out of spite, she gives birth to a son without Zeus, or any father for that matter. And he is described as the master of crafts, who is more skilled than all other sons in heaven, according to Theogony, which is relevant because Athena, playing an important role as a craft deity, think about just last week when we were talking about chariots, is the natural juxtaposition for Hephaestus. They are quite literally pitted against each other from birth. And let's just ignore the problematic timeline implications that we get from other sources that state that Hephaestus made the axe that helped split Zeus's skull so that Athena could be born in the first place. That's from Pindar's Olympian Ode from around the 5th century BC. And while it isn't stated here in the Theogony that Hephaestus was lame or crippled from birth, the words of other primary sources, it is stated in the Odyssey and the Homeric hymn to Pythian Apollo, let's just not question why it's in there, it's just in there, that he was born lame or born crippled. And this is also very consistent across the instances where it is discussed that Hera throws him out of Olympus. So in the versions where Hera throws him from Olympus, he is already lame. It's also worth mentioning that Pausanias, the 2nd century AD Greek geographer who we've talked about a couple of times,
Mhm.
specifically wrote something that really struck me as being important. He says that the legends of Greece generally have different forms, and this is particularly true of genealogy, which is pretty cool because it reinforces that even then, 1800 years ago, people were well aware that different practices existed across the world and that people
Mhm.
would believe different things. And he follows up that he read a poem from a poet who lived in the 8th century BC, 1,000 years before he did, and noted that in that poem, Hephaestus is a son of Talos, the Cretan sun god, and that this poem specifically comes from Crete, which is just really cool because all of the work that I am doing to talk about these myths and to kind of tell you where these things come from, they were even doing back then in the year 200.
Yeah.
Really fascinating.
History is dope.
Yes. So we've got two versions of Hephaestus actually being thrown from heaven/Olympus.
Now hold on.
Version, yep,
Just big ol' T timeout right now. So you glossed over something that I would like clarified if possible.
please.
You said that Hephaestus was born of Hera,
Yep.
sometimes only Hera, but that implies that there are other times where she got down and dirty with somebody else.
It's just Zeus. In those other times, she's jealous
Okay.
at Zeus, and then she goes and they have sex, and then she's like, "Ha! I made this one. He's mine, but also he's ugly. I'm
Okay.
gonna throw him off the mountain."
Okay. That's not nearly as compelling as her just
No.
undergoing parthenogenesis and saying, "I have a child now. I did
Yep.
it."
Me. All me. And in those versions, because she's so angry, she just throws the baby off because he comes out lame. And he's lame because she makes him out of spite. So
Mm.
in the Iliad, Hephaestus actually tells his wife, Charis/Aglia, the goddess of glory, who was notably not Aphrodite, they got a divorce, yes,
Mhm.
really, that he suffered much at the time of his great fall through the will of my own brazen-faced mother, who wanted to hide me for being lame. So that's it. Hera's like, ugh, ugly baby, and she throws him out of heaven.
It's like, "Damn, I made this. This sucks."
Yeah,
Just eat them.
but wait, there's more. Version 2, Zeus chooses to torture his wife. And this one also comes from the Iliad, but it's also attested in Plato's Republic a few hundred years later. And in this version, Hephaestus is telling his mom, still in the Iliad, hey, remember that time I helped you? And Zeus had caught you and chained you and hung you upside down? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, remember how I helped you? And he threw me from Olympus? And I hit the earth? And now I'm ugly? She's like, yeah. And that's it. That's like the whole interaction.
So he was just a regular dude before that? He was just a regular dude by God standards, but
Because they're both in the Iliad, I think it's implied that both of these things happen, and he just gets progressively worse every
he
time he
got
gets
even
thrown off
uglier?
the mountain.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. So he got thrown off the mountain twice!
Yep. So, in the version or in the instance where Zeus throws him off, fun fact, Hera is being chained upside down and dangled from the heavens because she sent a storm to fuck with Hercules.
Mhm.
And Zeus is just like, hey, don't do that. That's my baby boy. I love that
That's
guy.
my favorite son.
And
Yeah.
she's like, stop cheating on me. I'm gonna drown him.
Mhm.
And so he hangs her by her feet, and
Yeah.
Hephaestus goes to help her. And so now we've got backstory on Hephaestus's birth. Okay? We've got a
Mhm.
little bit of setup. We're going to take a brief pivot because it'll give us a chance to introduce Ares a little bit, who's another one of our major players here, especially in this chapter. He is undoubtedly the child of Hera and Zeus, well attested across many sources. So, because they were going to find Ares' shield, I wanted to look up if there was anything that indicated that Ares' shield had any place in mythology. Did it have any mythology of its own? And the answer is no. He
No.
is almost always depicted with a spear and a shield, but more importantly, the spear, because the spear seems far more his main affiliation. The shield just seems to have become a part of his attributes, mostly, if not solely, because as a warrior, he used his shield. That was just smart. So if you were going to
Mhm.
draw a soldier, you were going to draw him with a shield. And in fact, across the various artistic representations we have of the god of war, the shield doesn't seem to be consistent. There's no notable markings or emblems. Think Athena's shield, the Aegis, which always has the head of Medusa, which makes it very clearly Athena's shield.
Right.
There's nothing like that. The shield was decorated. It's not to say that it was never decorated with anything, but rather that the markings, emblem, or other design that was added was up to the liberty of the artist. They would
There was no
perhaps
staple.
draw.
It wasn't iconic.
Exactly. They would perhaps draw whatever shield they were most comfortable with, or whichever one they saw in the soldiers around them. And that's it. He's not always depicted with the shield, but it is very commonly there just because soldier.
Hmm.
And that's really all there is to say about Ares' shield. But that means we can get to the real drama. Now,
Yeah. Maury, Maury, Maury.
it is time to talk about the love triangle between Ares, Aphrodite, and Hephaestus.
Not even a love triangle. It's just the cuckolding of Hephaestus.
I mean, yes, I called it a love triangle, but yeah, moving on. You're right.
All right. Yep.
Which,
Let's get on to
speaking
the
of,
cucking.
well, we have to start with how we got to them being married in the first place. If for no other reason than because I don't think we'll have a better time to talk about this, and it fits. All of this is just so bad. It's so messy. The gods, they are the original tea. So,
And for what it's worth, I was gonna ask. So good on you for getting ahead of it.
the reason that they're married starts with Hephaestus being upset at Hera in particular. This story is actually fairly new in the written record. It comes very late, but we do have a piece known as the Francois vase, which is dated to around the 6th century BC, which actually depicts all of the events of the story I'm about to recount. So even though our written record comes from later sources, they're all very consistent with the art we have from earlier. So we can believe that this was a story that was pretty well known and hasn't changed much over the years. So on to the story. We've established the backstory. Hephaestus was thrown from Olympus by Hera, and it's because he's lame. And so he decides he would like revenge on the other gods, and Hera in particular. So he sends Hera a golden throne. But it's a trap, because of course it's a trap. It's Hephaestus. And when Hera sits upon it, she is stuck, unable to move from her seat, magically enchanted. So Zeus is like, oh no, this is bad. So he says, all right, guys, this was Hephaestus' work, and he is probably the only one who can set Hera free. So I need everybody to go find Hephaestus and bring him back to Olympus. And whoever does that can have Aphrodite's hand in marriage. And Aphrodite agrees to this because she thinks that surely only Ares could do this. Ares will be the one to apprehend Hephaestus and successfully return with the culprit. So Ares heads down to Hephaestus' forge, ready to storm in, take the god, and head back up to Olympus. Unfortunately for Ares and Aphrodite, though, Hephaestus is prepared, and he drives Ares back with a, quote, shower of flaming metal. Or
My
generally, he
God.
just doesn't succeed, but the version where it's flaming metal is definitely the coolest version.
Mm-hmm.
So, realizing that force isn't going to work, either Dionysus or all the gods try next. And Dionysus is the only one that has any success. All the other gods have failed to reason with Hephaestus, and Dionysus walks in, they share some drinks, and he says, hey, you know, if you just went up there and freed Hera yourself, you would probably be able to claim Aphrodite as your bride. And that is exactly what he does. Hephaestus says, you know what, you're making a lot of sense. That's a great idea. So he goes up, he lets Hera free, and Zeus, true to his word, says Aphrodite's hand in marriage is Hephaestus's, and she is begrudgingly wed to him.
Wow. Bro, he's so smart. He's like Batman with prep time. Nobody can stop him.
God of War, what is that to flaming metal?
What is that if I pour hot nickel all over your face?
Yes. And so that leads us to the main event. By this point,
The
what have we
cucking.
learned about Hephaestus? We've learned that he's spiteful and he likes traps. And mostly those two things.
Yes.
I suppose we've also learned that Aphrodite
He's
is
also
not happy to be
very-
wed to him.
Well, yeah, he's also, because of the third thing, he's incredibly ugly.
Factual. So, presumably, Ares and Aphrodite have been meeting for a little while now. And On this particular occasion, they are meeting up in the home of Hephaestus, lying upon Hephaestus and Aphrodite's marriage bed. And Helios, because he's the sun, he's always hovering overhead,
Yep,
he spots the
he's
lovers,
watching.
and he goes, "Oh, I must tell Hephaestus, because it's just too much tea. He can't keep it to himself."
He's a bro. He's
He's a
like, "I
bro.
wanna know."
So
Uh-huh.
he runs on down, and he's like, "Hephaestus, you wouldn't believe this." And Hephaestus is like, "I do believe this, and I'm pissed as hell." And so he starts plotting his revenge.
Uh-huh.
And I forgot to mention, this version of the story specifically comes to us from the Odyssey, where a singer actually tells the story in the form of a song, which is then transcribed to prose for the sake of being written down. So,
So you're gonna sing the rest of this, is what I'm
yes!
okay. Alright. You
You
called
don't
my
want a
bluff.
musical episode?
You called my bluff. I thought I was gonna have power over you, and you ripped it away, so congrats. Feel free to continue. Sans musical.
Where were we? We were right as Helios was being like, "Hey, bro, somebody's sleeping with your wife in your marriage bed." And Hephaestus is having none of this. So he says, "All right, time to set a trap." And he fills the room the next time he's home while Aphrodite is out and about. He goes and sets a trap that is chains hanging from the bedposts and ceilings that are described as gossamer light and invisible to the blessed gods themselves. Remind you of the thin string that Percy finds that's almost
Yeah.
invisible?
Mhm.
And after he sets his trap, he just heads out. He leaves. Ares, watching, waiting to go see Aphrodite, sees him leave, runs up to the house, and she herself is actually just getting back from stopping by to see Zeus. So she also has no idea what Hephaestus has been up to and says, and I quote, "Come, my darling, let us go to bed and take our delight together. Hephaestus is no longer here." So they head to the bed, and would you believe the trap activates perfectly? And suddenly they are unable to move, unable to escape. They're stuck. And Hephaestus, knowing this wouldn't take long, didn't even go all the way where he said he was going to go. He turns around, comes right back up to the threshold of his house, and he calls out to all the other gods. "Come, Father Zeus! Come, all you blessed immortals with him! See what has happened here! No matter for laughter, nor yet forbearance. Aphrodite had Zeus for father. Because I am lame, she never ceased to do me outrage, and give her love to destructive Ares, since he is handsome and sound-footed, and I am a cripple from my birth. Yet for that my two parents are to blame, no one else at all, and I wish they had never begotten me. You will see the pair of lovers now, as they lie embracing in my bed. The sight of them makes me sick at heart." And in that same monologue, he then later demands that Zeus give him back his betrothal gifts, and that only
Uh-huh.
then will he release the chains that hold the couple.
I can't help but feel that entire monologue was a huge self-own. In fact, this whole thing is a huge cell phone. What is the purpose of the trap? Hey, everybody, I know we're a big family of cheaters, but look at them cheating, and also me not getting pussy. Look at
Yep.
Ares getting pussy from my wife. Also, I'm very ugly, and I hate my
Yep.
parents, and I don't want to be alive. So
Pretty
yeah,
much.
gotcha. Gotcha, guys. Aren't
He's
you
really good at
embarrassed?
his evil monologue.
I just can't help but feel like he might have had something initially where he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna make sure that it's really embarrassing, blah 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 blah." And then he shows up and he just starts breaking down. He's like, "And I hate myself and I hate my
Yeah, that's
life."
basically what happens. And to your point about everyone being like, ugh, yeah, this happens all the time. We're
Uh-huh.
only told that 3 people show up. So, specifically, none of the goddesses. All the ladies are like, "Ooh, that is poor taste. No thanks."
Mhm. Mhm.
And we are told specifically that Apollo, Hermes, and Poseidon show up. And
Of
while
course.
Apollo and Hermes are all laughter and just desserts and all that, Poseidon is not laughing. He, dead serious, turns and tells Hephaestus, "Let him go. I promise that he shall pay in full such rightful penalty as you ask for. Pay in the presence of all the gods." And Hephaestus retorts, "Poseidon, do not ask this of me. Pledges for trustless folk are trustless pledges. If Ares should go his way, free of his change and his debt alike, what then? And Poseidon simply replies that if Ares indeed denies his debt and escapes elsewhere, I myself will pay what you ask. And that is good enough for Hephaestus. He is set on his uncle's good word, and he says, I cannot refuse such an offer, and he lets the lovers go. They swiftly get up, they head off to their separate kingdoms,
Yep, they put their pants back on.
and that's it. After this incident, it is implied that a divorce happens, as represented by the return of the betrothal gifts that were given to Zeus, which he
Mhm.
demanded back. That is the end of the story. I've got no rug pull, no gotcha moment. It's just some really sad, well, one really
Yeah.
sad god, actually, just one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I like that nobody else really gave a shit except for Poseidon, who was just like, "All right, just to get you to stop whining and bitching and moaning and not have this become a thing, I got you covered. Just let's stop. Let's stop this."
Yep.
Very sad, incredibly sad, actually. I thought this was gonna be a lot more funny. Instead, it's just a broken man in a broken marriage breaking down in front of only a handful of his family members because none of the others showed up.
Not to take a harsh stance on things that aren't good, but it's almost like people should be allowed to choose who they marry instead of just being given away.
That's true. It's very interesting. Like, I always thought of Hephaestus as the victim here. And obviously, cheating isn't great, but I didn't know that Aphrodite was effectively put into an arranged marriage that Hephaestus gamed.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of the other myth that we learned where he jerked off on Athena's leg,
Yep.
my pity well is kind of bottomed out for this guy. He's
He's
just a bitchy whiner he's a sex pest.
he's not a good person. Hephaestus is one of those
No.
gods that I'm like, whoa. A little bit of research, in my opinion, has changed a lot.
Yeah, he looks on the outside how he is on the inside. Ugly.
You know, and is that not the true message? Judge a book by its cover.
Judge a book by its cover, and beauty isn't just skin deep.
But that is the myth of Ares and Aphrodite being caught in a golden net by Hephaestus.
Huh. Well, I think we learned something here, Connor.
Oh, yeah, please, pray tell.
Well, I was hoping you knew. I don't know. I think we learned something here. I never said we did.
I think what we learned is don't throw your children off of mountains. It makes them
Twice.
spiteful.
2 times.
Look, the
Oh
first time
god.
did not do enough damage.
Yeah. Well, that was we didn't talk a whole lot about horse penis or fucking bulls this time around, but that was a girthy myth section. There was a lot there.
There was. But that is it. And I think that's where we're going to leave this chapter. Join us next time where we talk about the myths of zebras and Vegas.
Hell yeah. See ya.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to support our content, please be sure to leave a review, share with your friends, and follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms. Until next time, this has been Note from the Oracle. Oh my god, maybe I'll actually lead in with, so I bet you're wondering, are zebras real? No. Probably not.
Yeah, they're actually you would think you think you've seen them before, but they're
You
creatures of
haven't. Zebras are a
yeah.
myth.
Oh man. Whew. Dang, that was fun. That was a good
That
one.
was a fun one. Say, the chapter went way quicker than I thought. Like, I know we spent,
Oh,
like, almost
me
an hour on
too.
it, but there was not a lot of substance there, huh?
Yeah, I really thought we were gonna be spending a solid like hour and a half going through the chapter and then another 30 to 40 minutes doing the myths. I was buckled in for a long one. And I think that it came out to about average.
It did. 1 hour 45. I honestly, I was pretty happy with that myth section. Everything just kind of fell into place as pretty succinct and quick ones, and we haven't had something nice, quick, and straightforward in a while, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, there's usually a lot of layers. But you're also pretty good, especially with the god stuff. You're like, yeah, there's a lot more here. I'm gonna give you the cliff notes.
Yeah. We're gonna hit the big details that are important
Yeah.
for you to get the story.
Yep.
Oh, man. When we
Hands
ever,
in a
like,
bit.
ever actually meet Aphrodite, I don't know when that ends up being, but, like, her backstory is so fucked up. Oh my god, it's complicated.
Well, yeah, that's where it's Uranos got his balls cut off, or Kronos got his balls cut off
Uranos,
by
you were correct the first time, yeah.
it
By
was
Kronos.
Uranos? Okay.
Yep.
By Kronos. And his nuts get scattered to the sea, which then forms sea foam, which
Yep.
then she comes from it. That's where we get the really famous, I know technically it's Venus in the painting, but the really famous painting of her in the clamshell.
Exactly. The problem is that's only one of her birth stories.
Ah, I see.
And
That's
there's
the most famous though, right?
that is
Like
the
that
most
is
famous,
yeah.
but she's also just a child of Zeus. But also, the reason that it's really complicated is she's one of the last gods to be added to the pantheon. So
Oh,
she's
really?
actually regarded as a foreign queen, and a lot of Greek mythology is actually cleansing her actual role because she was actually a goddess of war herself. And the Greeks were like, we literally already have two of those. No, we can't have any more. You're gonna just be love. Which is why she's fighting in the Iliad on the side of the Trojans. It's because she's a foreign god.
Mhm.
That's what the Trojans represent, the foreigners. And she's fighting in the battle. Unlike some of the other deities, Hera never goes down to fight because she's a war goddess. And in the Iliad, actually, she's beaten by a mortal and sent up to Olympus to lick her wounds because they're like, stop it. Women don't fight. Go away. Reinforce gender roles. Quite specifically, though,
Mm, I see.
because they had pretty
Also, I
strict
just
gender
sent
roles.
you I sent you the jingle that I was talking about.
Oh, awesome.
Aphrodite, 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 the goddess of love. Which also, I mean, this show also came out. I'm gonna shill the Hercules show, even though I haven't seen it in like 15 years. It came out when like House of Mouse was a big thing. So it's very like, it's got a good amount of kind of satirical, sarcastic, I would almost say like proto Emperor's New Groove kind of humor.
That I did get from, like, the little bit I have seen. That is yes.
So like, it's really fun. You're not gonna get more of the movie. You'll get more of the characters from the movie. You'll just get a really good comedy in a fun setting with new side characters. Kinda like the Emperor, you remember the Emperor's New School? Remember
Yes,
that show?
I do remember
It
that one.
it's like that. It's like that for Hercules.
Dude, I'm down for that, that sounds fun.
It's a really fun little, like, again, late '90s, early 2000s. I think it's Lisa Kudrow who voices Aphrodite, so she's in it a fair amount. They got James Woods to play Hades still, like, he retains his role.
Reprises
Hades is
his
fucking
role, that's
hilarious.
cool.
Yep. If you watch it, let me know. Honestly, I might fucking watch it. Now that I've got Disney Plus on my phone, I might watch it and let you know if it's still good or not, or if you start watching it, let me know what you think.
Aphrodite, Aphrodite,